What do you absolutely need on a pipeline welding rig? Let's say you want to build a bed before you go out on the road. What is necessary and what is just for frills? Today I'll tell you what I absolutely think should be included. It can be fancy or it can be a flatbed, but I'll tell you what you need and you decide the rest for your needs and budget. I'll also include my essential tools list for pipeline so you can fill those new toolboxes. Make sure and hit that red subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications. It helps the channel and it notifies you when I post a new video every Friday. If you don't know, I'm Austin Ross, an accidental YouTuber and a pipeline welder. I first started traveling 7 years ago and I've learned a lot about the lifestyle and what I like in a rig truck. I'm currently working out of my third rig truck and planning my third custom welding bed. But this isn't about me. Let's talk about your bed and what you really need. I would first like to say that having a cool looking rig is fun and I like the process of planning and building, but it isn't necessary. Everyone starts somewhere, and if you don't know, here's what my first rig looked like. The point is to have what you need, make it as functional as possible, and get the job. The rest you can iron out later. I've seen guys do this with above the bed toolboxes on a flatbed, and I've seen rigs so slick I wouldn't want to get it muddy. Both make the same money, say nothing about you as a person or how hard you work, or how well you weld. Now that I got that out of the way, this is what I suggest you make or makeshift before hitting the road as a pipeline welder. We'll start with the obvious, which is welding lead. Welding lead, remote cord or extension cord, and then your torch hose. You'll want a spot for those four things, so whether that be lead welds like I've got on my truck, or just a rack of some kind. Just a simple rack made out of square tubing, angle, anything, be creative. The leads, I would suggest a way to secure them. That's why I've always done lead wells, because I have a way to lock them up, because traveling new places and staying in hotels, it's good to have some way to lock them up. If you are going to do lead wells, I would suggest, this is just rough numbers, be creative, but 12 by 12 opening by 16 deep should give you plenty of room for 125 foot of number one welding cable. That same dimension will work for torch hose also, about 100 foot of torch hose. If you decide to go with the rack instead of the lead wells, I have seen guys use a chain to lock their leads up. I'm not sure exactly how they've done it. I've seen several different ways, but you can lock your leads up on a rack. You don't have to have a lead well to lock your leads up. There are also several type of lead reels. If you wanted to go with a reel on your bed, there's several things out nowadays that they have options to lock up leads on a reel. So whichever way you decide, whether it's a lead well, lead rack, or lead reel, some way of locking them up is the only thing that I would suggest as far as building a bed and a spot for your leads. Torch hose, not so much. Wouldn't have to worry so much about locking it up. They're not as sought after as welding lead. I do suggest your leads and your hose be on the driver's side or off the back, because on the right of way, the pipe's going to be usually on your driver's side. Not always, but usually. And if you're on a fabrication job, you're going to be working off the back of your truck, so off the back works good also. As far as bottles, I would suggest at least one oxygen and one acetylene. The hole for an acetylene can be 9 inches in diameter. That should give you plenty of room for an acetylene bottle to drop down in. A medium acetylene bottle is roughly 3 feet, I think, so you can inset it as much as you want on a bed, or, like I said, be creative. The most common oxygen bottle size that I come across out here on the pipeline is a K oxygen. It is roughly 9.5 inches in diameter by 4 foot long. It's longer than 4 foot, but the straight part of the bottle is 4 foot long, roughly. A little bit less, I think. Now that's what I carry right now, is one oxygen, one acetylene, but my next bed I'll be making some changes when it comes to my bottles. If you guys are interested, let me know in the comments if you want me to do a video on my plans for my next bed. Now I want to know about you. What style of welding bed do you prefer? Let me know in the comments below. Do you prefer low profile, organized and efficient, a little of both? Let's talk about it and why in the comments. As far as the spot for your welding machine, I would suggest making a spot big enough to fit a miller, because most millers have a bigger space. Most of your Lincoln machines will fit in a miller space, so I would make it big enough for a miller. That way you can always have the option to have a miller or a Lincoln. As far as bolting it down, I would just do 2 bolts caddy corner from each other and make it to where there's plates coming up and you can get to both sides of your bolts from the top of the bed. That way you don't ever have to get underneath your bed to unbolt your machine. Also, I would incorporate a way to change the oil in your machine without having to take your machine off your truck. I have a video on that if you guys want to go check that out. I suggest a hole in your bed with a hose coming off your machine. That way you can drain the oil. A lot of the pipeline style beds that you will see, the machines are set in, like mine. What that is a way to create your machine to appear like it's a little bit lower, but it also creates a way to secure your machine without bolting it down. That's the way mine is. Mine's inset about 3 inches, and I like it because I don't have to bolt it down if I don't want to. I do like to bolt it down depending on the terrain of where I'm working, but if I've been home for a while and took my machine off to work on it or something, I can just throw it on, head to a job without having to bolt it down. That's what I like about insetting a machine on a bed. As far as toolboxes go, I would suggest making them to where they can lock somehow or another. You don't want anybody running off with your expensive tools that you've worked hard to get. If you do have belly boxes or low profile look, like on my truck, have a way to put dividers in there. Figure out what tools you want in which box and where. That way you can figure out where you want your dividers. Just be careful with belly boxes, because you don't want, the thing about belly boxes is things get covered up real easy. So like the deepest part of my box, I lose a lot of stuff down in there. So get creative with that space and maybe make like a section that you could pick up or like slide over, like a shelf that slides. That way you're utilizing the space but not covering stuff up. Things like that. Use your imagination, you know. You will also want room for 4 50-pound boxes of welding rod, at minimum, I would say. The average size of a 50-pound box of welding rod is 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches by 14.5 inches deep. That is a very tight measurement. I would definitely allow 6 by 6 by like 15, whether it be the box you're building for your welding rods or the space you need to have in your toolboxes whenever you're building them. Make sure you have a spot for a minimum of 4 jack stands, I would say. Whether that be, you know, I've seen guys put poles on the back of their truck to slide their jack stands on. They've run like a bicycle cable lock through them so they don't get stolen. Or you just lay them on the back, you know, or whatever. Or make a trunk like I did to carry 4 jack stands, foldable jack stands. I don't like to make a lot of room for junk, because that's exactly what will happen with extra room, is you will just put junk in these areas. But I do like to have a catch-all box or certain areas of a box to kind of carry ratchet straps, jumper cables, chain, socket set, just different kind of miscellaneous tools, you know. So I definitely do like to have room for that type of stuff. After all, it is a work truck. You can always add a Hoosier pole to your truck bed, but you do not have to have one for pipeline. When you are working, you will also want room for a rod bucket. That could go in one of your toolboxes if you make room. Doesn't have to. Mud board, weed burner, ladder, and fire extinguisher. You can incorporate these into your bed whenever you're building it, or just leave space for them on your flatbed part of your bed. Whatever you prefer. I also like to include a gooseneck ball. That way I keep that function as a pickup also, and also a receiver hitch to pull a bumper pull trailer. Here is a couple of videos that I will link that I think will answer some more questions that you might have. The tour of my welding rig, the single cab versus 4-door, do you need mud tires, my first welding machine, my suggestion if you don't already have one, and tools to get started. I will link these below so you can check those out. The top link will be the list that I promised at the beginning of this video of the essential tools needed as a pipeline welder. Click the link, drop me your email, and I'll send it over to you. If you liked this video, please share it and give it a like. If you want more videos like this, make sure to hit that red subscribe button down below and ring the bell to get notified. Alright, I will put the giveaway winner on the screen right here and list it in the description. Congratulations! Email me at arosswelding@gmail.com with your address by December 2nd. This week I'm giving away another coffee mug. I've been trying to wear mine out, and I think you need one. Comment your favorite hot drink down below for your chance to win. And come back next Friday to see if you did. Don't forget, only a couple of weeks to get your industrial tradition goods before Christmas. Must order by December 18th for guaranteed Christmas delivery. See you in the comments. Make sure to learn something every day, and we'll see you next week.